We may have some technical difficulties this morning. I got a new mic, so let me know if you have any issues with sound or whatever. Just left ear? How the fuck do I fix that? That doesn't even make sense. Is that better? I can keep turning it up. I just don't know. I don't know why it's only coming out of the left ear only. Left right balance is even. Okay. Volume good, now both ears. Still mono. Is there like a button for that? I don't know what I've done here. Mono on left ear. What in the shit? I knew I shouldn't have done this. I should have just kept the old mic. Okay, mono is not even selected. I need to check device settings. Connection issue? It's lacking low end. Okay. Hold on. No. Check the microphone connection. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Is that better? It's not. It's a XLR cable. Nope, not better. Oh, bitch. Maybe I need to turn both up. Does that work? It's a Shure XM 7B or something. It's XLR into an audio thing. What a start. I know. Yeah, it's into an interface. I got one of these. You need to, most mics are mono. You need to enable mono. How the fuck do I do that? Okay, wait, does that fix it? I did it? Look at me go. Aha. Well, everyone was always bitching about the sound, and I found myself at a guitar center. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy like an actual audio setup. No bass though, you're top heavy. Uh oh man. Now you're getting into things I don't understand. Can you turn on Discord audio? I can't with the member stream because there's no way for me to like lock the channel. I was gonna set one up for that, but I'm still trying to figure out how. I think I have to set up like a broadcasting channel in Dillionaires. But then like I can't place restrictions on it for Long Johnson, so they wouldn't be able to listen in. It's fine for voice, just miss your bassy tones. Well, I have a compressor on, so maybe I need to change something with that. I just don't know how. That's where your tinny tone is coming from right now. I'm doing it right, Harley. Next up, background music. Buying new equipment 3 weeks before MOAS, bearish. I mean, I wanted a nicer mic, and now I've got like a pop filter and a mic. It looks cool. Government intervention FUD is getting really thick on Reddit and YouTube. It's pretty fucking simple. Either they're gonna intervene or they're not. There's no FUD, right? If they choose to, they will, and it will fuck us all. And that's the end of it. There's no thinking about it beyond that. You just have to hope that they don't. Well, don't worry, Windmill. I will be in touch. Yep, can't predict it, can't change it. Has no effect on the play whatsoever. Because it is an unknown. It cannot be factored in. They will either halt and freeze the stock or they won't. Government intervention is FUD. Scare people into selling early. Why would they sell for fucking $150? It's not like the government's going to intervene at any reasonable price point. Squeezes have happened before. The government has let them run. The FUD is thinking that you wouldn't be rich before that happened. Like, unbelievably wealthy. Yeah, I've seen DGAZF. Dad passed away last week. I'm so sorry to hear that, Renzer. Check PFE. I think PFE looks good for continued sustained growth. If he's a whale in it, and if he was in it like previous to splits, I don't know why you would sell. Like, probably the foremost biotech company and pharmaceutical company in the world. Is COVID done? Then Pfizer's probably not either. What's wrong with my camera upgrade? What the fuck, Pickle Morty? Background is a salute to your employer. Yeah, I mean, like, for a long-term position, Pfizer's great. It's just a very slow mover, not a great trade. Um, but even currently, this looks bullish. Like it consolidated. It's breaking out to the upside again. Um, so solid on the near term. 1 week looks great. It's been closing up since October. The fuck was that? I own a near pro home recording studio. Your sound is fine. I've used Scarlett audio interfaces before. Any EQing would come from software, but sound is fine. Compressor is great. Thanks. Thanks, Ghost of Dan. 100K is a very conservative price point, and I can see the government getting involved at around 100K. Well, what would that be? GameStop's market cap would be $100,000 a share times, was it 62.33? No, 6 trillion. That's a lot. $6.2 trillion. If you have a range of Feb calls, 150 to 220, can you explain different scenarios, how stock moves, and which ones you'd sell first, execute, etc.? What if it just creeps up in price? Well, then I wouldn't sell shit, right? Like, if we just have a slow, so like, I know everyone's super bullish on January 10th. I'm not in the sense that I don't think the stock will go up, but I'm not like sold that we're going to go up a lot, right? I mean, the technical trend would indicate that we end up somewhere between let's see. Nope. Get out of here. So technicals, we should end up somewhere like from there to, where is it? Like right there. So this is like the low target, right? I think we can surpass that a little. This is in the wrong spot. Hold on. So we may see like 210, like up here, or a little higher. I can't really draw with Epic Pen on this. Maybe I can. Hold on. Let me change the scaling. Fit to screen. That should work. Let me see if that's better. No, still a little off, but slightly better. So that's the target. And then, yeah, we could see like maybe 210, 220. But this is more of like volatility spikes. Uh, Obviously, we have more FTDs coming in after that. So we could see slow growth continuing from that point. But that initial rush of ETF FTDs, I'm not targeting like 250 or anything like that. So if you have, 150, which is, down here, to, what did you say, 220. And we run that, most of these are going to be kind of locked in the money, right? Like anything sub 200 or sub 180, and this is why I kept my January 180s. Anything sub 180 is going to be pretty locked in, right? Like you don't need to sell that unless you really need the IV spike, and you're super underwater on those calls. But like the 220s and stuff, I mean, this is the run, right? Like this is we expect this whole thing to be positive price action for the most part. And so, if you have Feb calls, you're going to hope to get some value here, but you're going to expect more value, right? So we kind of do expect it to kind of creep up, right, as we pass through these additional ETF. So the ETF FTDs are going to be flowing this entire time. The GME FTD spikes, which look like they're picking up based on the FTD data we got on the 30th, and into the 25th, where we have our gamma exposure from the leap expiries. We expect to see kind of continuous growth. And as far as taking profits, that's up to you. Most of your strikes are fairly safe. Like if we do see sustained upward movement, like everything from 150 to 220 will probably go into the money at some point. But if I'd say if you had stuff that was further out of the money, you would maybe consider taking profits and exercising deeper in the money calls. That's usually what you want to do in a position like that, is you back out of your furthest strikes first, and the deeper in the money the strike is, the slower you back out of it. Is a $6 trillion market cap really realistic? It could happen. So could more. GameStop could get very out of control, right? If GameStop slides off the options chain on any given day, I don't. There's really no way to stop it at that point. There's no way to. There's no way to control the price. There's no way to temper volatility. If like 950s go into the money, it's gonna go to the moon. After that, it's like over the edge of the black hole, right? It's a point of no return. Yeah, market cap's meaningless in a squeeze. Fab or March 145s on Monday is safe. Sold? Psyche, do you mean like you want to sell like puts? I don't think puts are safe until like mid this week, probably. If you're trying to do like a credit spread. December FTDs are out. Is that old news? No. It looks like we're starting to see an uptick in, from just the cursory glance I gave it, it looks like we're seeing a bit of an uptick in GME FTDs, which we expected, right? Um, last cycle we didn't see that uptick because of the liquidity from the share offering and the ETF rebalances. So we were hoping we would see more GME FTDs this cycle, and it looks like we're starting to, but they pick up. So we'll see once we get closer to like the GME future fails and stuff like that. Yeah, which we won't know until the price is probably already moving, but it'll still be something we're looking at. If we don't see a squeeze by Feb 8th, then is future squeeze potential greatly diminished? I think so. Um, depending on how high we trade, right? So if we break 300 at some point during this cycle and we hold it, right, the downward suppression becomes much more difficult at these prices, right? It becomes a lot more expensive, the creation process and synthetic share making. Um, so if we can hold 300 into the next exposure, which is the OPEC state for February, and we have this bull runs jump on the Feb OI, then yeah, we could, especially like if retail's exercising a lot, we could see the gamma exposure in February have some potential. I think if it drags on longer than that, it's going to be really dependent on our price and GameStop announcements throughout the year. But I mean, we have OPEC states. We know the stock goes up like $50 every fucking quarter, right? So it's not like there isn't money to be made and there aren't plays, even if MOAS doesn't occur in that time frame. Like, and ideally, if we can get if the price gets high enough and stays high enough, then it can make it much more difficult for them to back out of their short position over the course of this year. There is exposure in June. Don't forget, there are leap dates in June. So June has fairly high potential. Next September, not really. Next December, then we go back into this again. Third Friday. So Feb 18th, gamma exposure, essentially. Feb 18, T plus 2. It's either, I think it's like the 22nd of February. When they internalize the order, they're using, so say they have, 1.5 trillion in marginable assets, right? And they're internalizing trades, then, the negative whatever they've internalized comes off of their margin. So if they take like 8 billion, you know, that's like 1.42 trillion. But their margin isn't like that, right? It's spread much thinner because they have so many positions. They're making markets on so many different stocks. What do you think we'll see for XRT price action? I expect to start to see it run after it begins to be thresholded on Jan 6th. I expect it because they have to continuously net settle FTDs every single day, right? YouTube is max, so is Windows volume control. Okay, so if it's a little quiet, I can probably just turn that up, right? I think I can just turn it up there. Does that help? I know people are gonna have sound issues until I figure this new mic out. So buying March calls is safer, or wait to buy Feb 18 so theta isn't so high, correct? Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping the Febs I have now. The whole position's down pretty significantly, but I'm basically going to double down on it this week. I don't have any intention of buying any Marches unless I see like a good deal. But if I don't see significant price improvement by the 25th, I'm going to be probably closing out of most of my Fed position. A little better. Okay. I mean, I think I can turn it up like quite a bit more, but just like an OBS compressor. Yeah, I think a move is priced in on the 95, 96s. Please turn it up a bit more. I could do that. Maybe that's better. Um, is that? Mm, okay. I think that should do it. It's still down from where you used to be. Did you see the guy that bought Jan 2023 910s? Overkill on Theta, but what do you think about that play in general? I mean, it's just an implied volatility play, right? I'm probably gonna move into some sort of IV position on GameStop. I'm just not sure which yet. Much gooder. Okay, cool. This is also like directional, and I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. If you close your Feb in late Jan, when is a window to buy back in? Somewhere between the 25th and the next ETF FTDs. I kind of just want to hold everything straight through to the 8th. But we'll need to see price improvement, right? If we aren't seeing some price improvement in this window, I'm gonna be pretty worried, right? Like if we're just flat through here, that's not good. I haven't priced in corn futures for this run up. That's not really my area of expertise, agriculturals and such. You have to talk to Popcorn Trader. What's this IV play you say? Can we introduce you to some slightly used but resilient 510Cs? No. Maybe 500s. Probably more like fours or 420s. I know you mentioned Jan 18 as a date you'd monitor regarding potential roll of Feb 18s. No, not Jan 18th. So I've mentioned that generally rolling at a month out. So Jan 18th versus Feb 18th. After you cross that barrier, theta decay is a little stronger, especially for out of the money calls. Um, but not really so much Jan 18th. I don't expect anything that day. I'd be looking more towards this window for price improvement than I would be looking at Jan 18th. So Jan 20 through 25th. Last year, I mean that price window was, well, it was busy. Don't forget that we have like ETF FTDs stacking on top of daily GME FTDs, on top of decent open interest in the call chain. Uh, so any price improvement is going to be multiplied by the amount of delta in the chain, or the delta improvement in the chain. Couldn't that signal that crime is happening? Yeah. Do you want me to whisper behind you, Popcorn Trader? Flat worry zone from Jan 10th to 25th, Hartley. Well, normally they could avoid the exposure the way they did in December, right? By dropping the price below and push options out of the money. But they did it early, right? So they dropped the price. I feel like they dropped the price too soon. If I were them, I would have let them. It's tough, right? Like we knew this was going to be a possibility a long time ago, and that like they did not want to roll futures and create exposure here, right? And so they did both. They not only didn't roll the futures, like they failed the roll, but then additionally they failed the exposure period. So if anything, I almost expect more price action here because of that, right? Because they failed, they generated FTDs for both instead of one or the other. Like last year, it's hard to tell. We know that there was a large amount of ETF fails, but and we had large GameStop fails, but it really didn't look like the exposure in December was all that strong. And maybe it was just created by RC's buy-in, which literally happened like the week before, driving more options into the money and kind of negating the effect of them trying to dodge that delta sensitivity spike. But they essentially failed this entire window, right? Almost no positive price action, nonstop ETF creation, and using the market makers to hedge the price down as well via in the money puts. So the amount of FTD creation that went on in this window was atypical. And to dodge January's exposure, they would have to do the same thing, except all of these FTDs are due here, right? So they created the FTDs here, and the FTDs are due here. And so how are they going to dodge the leap exposure while covering FTDs? And this is where I think they get pinched. This is where I think they got pinched last year. We are talking about the failed futures FTDs. Been trading flat all friggin' year. I mean, except for when we run to like $350 or $250. XRC's still on Reg Show. Thanks, Carl. You're looking mighty tasty yourself, big man. It seems they have a plan for Jan because it doesn't make sense to increase the pressure to late January. But think of what would have happened if they hadn't, right? If they hadn't done this, they run into that 8-to-1, like that 800% delta sensitivity spike, right? They roll futures into that, and the price just takes off here, right? So they bought themselves, 9 trading days and 35 more calendar days. That's what we expected them to do. That's what they did last year. That's what we wanted. I'm bullish as fuck on it. I mean, this wasn't bad news, right? It's desperate. It's obvious. They spent billions to facilitate the price drop. Tens of billions. You're talking, they attacked an entire sector for what, really I only see two squeeze candidates in there that present a great deal of risk to them. GameStop, and then even more so Dillard's. I mean, we know these price drops aren't sustainable. They haven't been able to sustain this downward price action yet without the pressure relieving, right? Without those fucking FTDs coming due. Yeah, lol, Dillards. We could talk Dillards. It's not lol. It's a big deal. Dillards had the highest IV spike last January. It has an 11 million share float. It has 82% institutional ownership. Of its shareholders, 70% are direct registered employees. Oh, and the insiders keep buying. Dillard's may be a bigger play, or a better. It has higher potential for a squeeze even than GameStop. That doesn't mean it'll be realized, but if you're just going off like the possibility of a short squeeze, it's even higher. I have a few Dillard's calls. Oh, and it's in all the same ETF baskets as GameStop. Yeah, with reported 49.1% SI. It's just true. Like, if you're talking about squeeze potential, we talk about how AMC has none, GME has a lot, Dillard's has more. There's no denying the data. DDS, Luna. You don't need to. DDS is already DRS'd. If you watch the borrow rate on Dillard's, like, throughout the day, you'll see it go from, like, I don't know, like 1% or whatever it's at. And it'll just, like, over an hour, it'll spike to like 30%. Because anytime they borrow shares against Dillard's, the fucking borrow rate goes sky high instantaneously. I mean, the DRS numbers in DDS mean that there's no available. I mean, the float's infinitesimally small anyway, but it also means that the available shares to borrow are almost non-existent. And it has options. They also just did a $15 a share dividend. So a lot of Dillard's free float is owned by employees. Like, I think 70% of the shares available are owned by employees. Half the float is owned by insiders. DDS is a lot different. They also have, like, better fundamentals for an institution buy-in. They've had positive earnings all year. They live in areas where the effects of COVID are mostly ignored, and so it hasn't really affected their profits much. It's possible. Yeah, I'm not saying that the short position on GameStop isn't greater. I'm just saying, for all the factors you need for a short squeeze, DDS has stronger ones. That's all. Because it's illiquid. The options chain is super illiquid on DDS. I got 340s for just over bid, like $10 over bid. 0.10. The OI is small right now. More strikes open for GME March option chain. Does it mean something? How many more strikes? Was it like significant? It could just be that we're approaching it. Ooh, is GME. Yeah. Let's see. For March? Why the fuck are they opening $20 strikes on a stock that's trading at 150? Yeah, I mean, they're just getting prepared to hedge volatility, it looks like. Whoa. What happened there? No volume. Does GameStop have the potential to squeeze at each cycle? Depends on the price. The higher the price we go into a cycle, the better the chance of it squeezing. So the DDS1 chain is the one that has the dividend. I was looking at Fab in March for DDS. Have you noticed the key difference there is, you know, it experiences the same cycles as GameStop, right? Jan and May, November, right? But it doesn't lose value. Like it just kept growing after these run-ups. Price suppression on GameStop is far more important for them, however. Also more possible. Do you wear the VWAP hat off stream? No, I don't wear hats. Tired. I ate too many donuts this morning. If one squeezes, the other will too, right? Not necessarily. Communicate VWAP that GameStop has for January, or is DDS so different? DDS is just way different. No, I'm not flipping on GMA. I barely have a position in DDS. I think my entire position in DDS is like less than $2,000. I know it's $3,400. I'm out of the country Jan 11 to 18th. Should I be getting an international plan to make trading available during this time? In case of a squeeze, or think I'll have time. I don't want to miss MOAS. You might want to consider having a data plan, yeah. Or at least Wi-Fi connectivity. Nope, not a DDS stream. I still have like 60% of my net worth in GameStop. What's your thought process on when to sell a call to execute another, especially with traditional futures run up happening late Feb? Do you just plan to roll your Feb 18s even if Jan goes super well? I may if they're just in the money, I'll just do what I did the last time, right? And just roll forward, like buy more theta on my contracts and exercise them over time. That's what I did in. So for those of you that don't know, that's kind of what happened to me back in Feb. So back in Feb, I still had 500 shares. As we approached the run up, I still had 500 shares, but I'd sold out of all of my options positions, sort of in between here and here. And so I still had 500 shares, but I had a lot of free capital, right? Like I made a lot of money on the run on GameStop. And so I started moving into options positions in the like $50 to $80 range, with some 100s. When DFE doubled down, well, when DFE was doing his congressional hearing, I started buying more. Eventually moving all of my profits from this run into these were at the time June calls. And after it ran, I sold some out of the money calls at the peak, and then I spent the next several months exercising these like 50, 60, $80 calls. I finished doing that near September. But I had to roll those forward, right? I rolled them forward in June to January. I don't have any left now, but I had weeklies and stuff that I sold off and took profits on that run up, and used a lot of that money to exercise those deeper in the money calls. I used profits from trades to exercise those calls. So I'd imagine if we see a similar effect and a new floor after January, that I will just be rolling out those deep in the money calls and exercising them as I can. Pickles picks for this week? If so, what are you looking at? I don't know. I'm still in on most of the plays that I was in on last week. Baba's interesting me, but I'm gonna have to see what happens at the Chinese market. So I really won't have an update on Baba probably until slightly before market open. But I do have some other picks. Let's see, what else was I looking at? There was a play for Lucid because it looked good in the aftermarket. There's a few things that saw significant decline due to end of year, like SPY. I think SPY is going to rally after its big drop into close. I expect SPY to rally on Monday as people buy back into positions for the new tax year. I didn't post them in Discord last week. I announced them at the start of the stream. I was short on time and I forgot to do the write-up, so I just gave them to everybody before market open. Can you talk us a little through the FTD data? I think you asked that before. I already did. FTDs for GameStop are up. They're up over September's totals in the same time frame. That batch of FTDs for GameStop is mostly irrelevant. What did you decide to do it slowly after last Feb instead of cashing out and doing it all when it jumped up and you were super green? Wait, what? Why did I didn't have the money to exercise them all. I wanted to keep exercising, but I did not have enough to exercise all the contracts I bought. So it took quite a bit of time and income for me to exercise those. What DDS strikes are interesting to you? 300 and 350, but any strike with OI because of how dead the chain is. Can you super precisely all the necessary criteria for a squeeze? Did you not read the MOAS bingo, DD? You need SI, you need illiquidity, and you need a catalyst. Those are what's essential. You're not likely going to find catalysts using a screener, Stefan. Wouldn't rolling just hurt? I thought executing is what did the damage. I mean, if we're not going to squeeze, but I have options that are like $150 in the money, it doesn't really hurt me to roll those forward and exercise them later, right? And that also keeps the gamma on the chain longer. So if I can roll all those, so say my Feb, I don't have 150s for Feb, 180, 200, 220s. Say we run up and we stay at 3, right, Carl? So we're sitting here at $300. All of these are super deep in the money, but we're not going to squeeze. Like it's, we're out past Feb 8th. We're not squeezing, but the price isn't dropping, right? Then it makes sense for me to roll that forward, right? All of these strikes, I can roll those forward. I keep the delta on the chain, and exercise those in the February OPEX window. I waited to roll a bit. I shouldn't have. Because you're talking about these calls being, 1.0 delta. So the cost to roll them is just theta, which, I should be able to make more than a sufficient amount from my out of the money calls if we run up that high. Witness me, I like to flex on those poor Dillionaires. Thank you, Phil. Riku. I have a fat chunk of shares. It's not small. Sometimes I regret buying so many. Just the psychological aspect of watching the price go up and down is debilitating sometimes. But I've gotten used to it. Because I wanted a larger long position. Oranges, some oranges. I also sold covered calls at the top of that run and used that credit to buy more shares on the dips. I did a lot of trading through that period to increase the size of my position with options. I've been averaging my FEVs down since November. I got 350s, 300s, and a decent amount of 230s. I'm excited for these to finally realize their value and turn green. Hashtag MOAS month. Awesome, Rock and Rando. How do I change the cartridge on this bathroom faucet? What? I don't know what you're talking about. What do I think about AMD this week? I think they have like some sort of announcement. I'm fucking just bag holding a bunch of calls right now. I hope it goes back up. I hope the sell off that we saw Friday was just year end. And if it goes up, it should move quick. I think max pain's like 147 for next week. So LRC, we'll see. We're supposed to get an announcement Friday, right? Are there any particular technicals you're looking for to show confirm the expected move this cycle? No. I mean, we'll see MACD crossover if the price goes up, I guess. I mean, it's a trailing indicator, so. You say you don't like to roll contracts with Fidelity? I don't like to use their roll feature because you just lose money. What day would you consider the GME play dead? I mean, I don't think it's ever gonna die. But as far as Feb, like the Feb play goes, if we haven't seen significant price improvement by the 25th, I would say that this cycle is going to be a little less than expected, right? But we have time. We have to wait and see. Did you figure out the link to auto tag YouTube videos? Not yet. I haven't even gotten to look at that yet. I saw the video you sent me, but I'll have to watch them. See Tesla delivery numbers. They beat expectations by almost 16%. It'll probably rip then. If we MOAS when all your calls go deep in the money, would you have to report your position to the SEC? I don't think so. I saw earlier today, Citadel has a bunch of puts on AMD if I'm reading this right. That's possible. I haven't really looked into AMD's ownership in a long time. They were one of the big shorts on it though. Heard AMD's gonna announce another share buyback. That'd be fucking insane. I hope so. I have like 200 leaps on AMD. So that'd be awesome. You think SoFi could be due for a bounce now? Probably not. Don't buy SoFi if you're interested in its like short-term movements. It's probably not going to do shit for a long time. Maybe a year or two, maybe longer. That's like a 3 to 5 year window investment. I wouldn't even consider it on the short term or try to play its technicals. There's way too much manipulation and short interest there. Royal Mail TV. I don't really know what LRC is going to announce, if anything. Um, Without a direct link to GameStop, though, it has no effect until GameStop makes some sort of official announcement linking the two things. I don't know why I'd buy a yacht in New York City. It's a 7% entire portfolio SPY P. It's possible. And not so much they're going to let the market tank, but the sell off of core positions could cause a drop in the market. I Yes, you can net positive, but the issue is by selling shares. You provide the short-term liquidity that they need to clear FTDs. Thus, reducing the potential of the options you buy. So yeah, when you sell shares to buy options, you're reducing the potential of those options. So at best, the effect is like net neutral. At worst, it greatly diminishes the potential for options. If enough people do it and the bystander effect of that takes hold, it could ruin any chance of this cycle meaning anything. Without buy and hold, these option strategies are ineffective. And I know you're thinking to yourself, well, I can do it and no one else will. But for every person that thinks that, the potential of this cycle diminishes. Nope, can't see anything. It'll just happen or it won't. If institutions are going to jump in, they'll jump in and they'll do it in great quantities very, very quickly. Been sick, have a Jan 180, 250 with similar febs. Jan's down a bit. Hold them or roll them. I kept all of my January strikes below 200. Everything above 200, I sold. So I think January strikes below $200 have a very good chance of going into the money. The ETF flow looks good. And we're thinking that we can, me and Turd are discussing, and Bob, if we can predict ETF FTDs based on flow. It looks like we can. There'll be more information on that this week on the stream. I'll talk about it. But we're thinking that we can predict the quantity of FTDs from ETFs based on the fund flow. There's no government intervention warning signs. Stefan, you have to accept that it's a factor, and you have to accept that it is unpredictable. It cannot be assessed in any way. It will either happen or it will not. They have interest in protecting trust in the market. We'll see how far that carries it. It's always been there. People panicking about it now just obviously haven't been paying attention, or just had a completely unrealistic view of what MOAS could be and its potential, which, you know, we've spoken about time and time again. It has to, but for them to step in, it will have to present severe risk to the global economy. And I don't see that happening at any price points. I just don't think there's going to be enough people left that it will cost. I don't even think like this whole thing would be the entirety of the DTCC, right? Like most people will have sold long before then. Thanks, Curtis Maximus. Why would I be friends with Koala Hugger? He's an idiot. Um, Sorry, I'm getting here really late. I'm looking at Jan 23, 120C as a conservative play to make up for my bad Frags Day and Feb plays. Am I being too? How have you had bad Feb plays yet? The window for February hasn't even occurred. I mean, it's not that a Jan 23 isn't a nice conservative bet. It's just that like, did you sell your Febs? Selling Febs was doesn't really. Don't forget that the Febs that you bought in November have to be hedged with real shares, or they have to double down their synthetic creation. Yeah, I know we can, Dunstan, but we're trying to figure out if we can figure out like the number of FTDs, if there's what the relation is and what the effect of that relation is to GameStop price action. Remembering that, you know, these baskets can be created specifically for one or two stocks or for the entire representation of the ETF. Okay, Girk's Hot Pocket. So maybe wait for a decent spike to roll Jan 50 for less of a loss. I mean, you could. Hot. Winson Jeet, I don't know. What would be a significant risk for them to step in? If the ETFs start blowing up, that would be something I'd be worried about. I think they'll probably be more interested in like the potential squeeze on the treasury or on treasuries than they're going to be with GameStop. It's one of those significantly larger market. Looking at the flow you referenced, does it seem more or less than last year at first glance? Similar. Different ETFs, right? GameStop's not in the same ETFs it was in last year. Although we do suspect that many of the future contracts that carry forward on ETFs like IWM contain obligations for GameStop. Solve for a constant when you integrate. It will give you a low ball number, but that is better than. Yeah. That is not my area of expertise. Also, yeah, I don't know if a direct comparison like that is gonna Dunstan. I don't know if a direct comparison like that will give us the data we need because we're in different ETFs now with different holdings. Even if I lose all my money, at least I have entertained myself for the past 2 months. Well, let's hope that hasn't happened yet, Beasted Siggy, and doesn't happen. How do you expect SPY could run before next SLD? Like 180, 480 rather? 482, 483, right around there. I wonder if we'll get a Forbes cover photo entitled The Pickles That Held. That'd be cool. What are you currently holding for GME? Do you have any Feb calls yet? What? Yes. Oh, yeah, I have lots of. I've always had Feb calls. I have lots of Feb calls. I'm buying more next week. I have January 160s and 180s. I have Feb uh, 180s through 350, and I have April 200s. Can you pretty please, with sugar, give us some super fundamental and basic FinViz screener settings for hunting options plays so you can add value to the trading group by finding potential plays? No. How have you been doing this long, Stefan, and you still haven't found like fundamental like screener settings like you know turnover rate, week over week price improvement, these things? I mean, basic Finviz screener isn't very good at screening for options plays. That's more of highlighting. I mean, it'll give you like stuff to look at, but you still have to do the research and determine if momentum is going to be working on your side or not, or if there's potential for momentum. Like, you still have to go through all the other steps. There's no there's no screener that exists unless you've built it or had someone build it for you that is going to pick you a play. It simply highlights stocks that you should look at. You still have to determine if there is a play there or not. That's why I don't give that shit out, because it just leads to people thinking that they can plug settings into a screener and be a successful trader. We know all the FTDs are exposed. No, the ETF flow doesn't transfer FTDs from one ETF to another. We're looking at flow for creation, Dunkston. So the March mini IWM futures contained in the ETF cause any price action if it does contain obligations for GME. Yes. My screener is Twitter and Pickles Picks. Am I doing this right? I mean, social sentiment is definitely an important aspect to look into. I think Dunstan, the biggest problem that we have with the data is how do we know how much of creation is GameStop? Like, are they like net short 5 of the basket stocks and net long the rest? So returning the long shares to the ETF and selling the net short positions at market. And then how are they weighting their baskets, right? Like baskets don't have to be weighted by weight of the fund. They can pick and choose. They can create baskets that are, 70% GameStop if they want to, or 100% or 10%. There's so many variables in the process. SOFR is supposed to correct the derivatives market. It requires collateral posted daily versus LIBOR did not require collateral. We'll see. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna have to do. Is we have to identify the high periods of high flow and then check the correlation against the basket and try to determine how they're weighting the creation units. Like if GameStop is, dropping 20% during these flow periods and Apple's going up 5%, it becomes fairly easy to identify, I think, but it ignores outside market factors, which isn't good. I don't really know how much we can get out of it. I've been MIA for almost a month. Wrong chat. Hey, Dandelion. What can one expect to see if a bond market squeezes? I don't want to think about it. Elon just tweeted, "Let's make the Roaring Twenties happen," as if we weren't already at the end of them. Confusing. Elon's just pumping his stock. Don't worry about it. Are you gonna start your own fund after all this is over? I feel like I would make more money than I do on Pickles Picks. No, I'm not. I wish Ryan Cohen started pumping his stock. We all do. Got to give Adam Aaron that. At least he fucking pumps his stock up. Thoughts on Cat? It's just doing its thing still. I haven't sold my calls yet. It's it's just kind of like in this in between range between 205 and 210, and I have no idea which way it's going to break. What would government intervention look like? The stock would get immediately frozen, and then fucking nothing would happen for days and days, maybe weeks. Do you think it's super risky if short hedge funds to leave GME under DFV's quadruple down price? Not really. Retail's not buying shit anymore. Like, you're buying stock, but it's not a significant volume, Stefan. Right? Like, retail's creation of volume is almost non existent. It has been for a long time. Also, if you're not buying in block orders, you're not really doing anything to the price, right? So we're just buying even more of the float. That's fine. More illiquidity, right? Don't think that they didn't get some people to sell by dropping the price. Wouldn't an intervention create a Streisand effect and amplify the interest on it? Maybe. But it would also increase the risk, right? When does RC buy the remaining portion of his shares? It's very expensive. I don't think he has any intention of doing it anytime soon, unless he does it through options. JanFeb looks good. I am bullish on it. That could happen, Royal Mail TV. They may just unhalt it and let it continue trading. There's no way to say how if government intervention would turn out in our favor or not. I feel like the government's already very aware of the GameStop situation. How do you know we're an uptick candle to start drawing your wedges, or do you just pick the biggest green candle before a red? I think that would depend. Usually from the point at which the trend shifts, or the point at which like a breakout is confirmed. I'm a nervous pooper. Tips for Moas. Eat a lot of fiber so you don't have to poop. Man, that coffee didn't do anything. Get a bucket. Do you think RC thinks the price is just going higher? Why wouldn't he wait? Never mind a squeeze, just higher based on value. I'm sure he does, but he also gets paid in shares, right? He could just collect the rest of his holdings over the next several years. This is the thing you're looking forward to buying after MOAS? Time. More than anything, time. That's the best use of large amounts of money. We need some more positivity in here. I mean, this is the hardest point, right? Every day the pain is felt a little more. All the fuckery will have more impact. I mean, XRT is a different play. It's like it's not the same play. Yep. Theta. It rules all things. I think MOAS won't happen until Goldman finds a way out. What? I don't think Goldman's in like a bad position with GameStop. I need to prove my wife I'm smart with the money. It could, yeah. Royal Mail. It's possible, but I expect its movement to be slow. It's not a new chair. It's the same fucking chair, Corneb. It's the same chair I've had this entire time. Don't know. Seems like it's always Goldman. What an in-depth analysis. Thank you, Pong. I heard you talk about JP Morgan being long GME. Is that correct? Blueberry, do you read any of my DD? Yes, that's correct. I don't really have any thoughts on the LIBOR SOFR switch. I don't think it matters for us. Not directly, at least. Was the last gen ETF due date a Monday as well? Let's find out. Gen 11? Yes. But remember, GME borrowing in this cycle was much higher than ETF creation. Now it's flipped. ETF creation is now much higher than GME borrowing. Would it be better for us to spike up hard or creep up over this cycle? What hurts the short hedge funds more? I mean, I would like us to spike. I think both of them have relatively the same effect. Short variance positions would rather we crawl up. Or short volatility positions would prefer a slow crawl. Does buying long-dated options on ETFs containing GME help facilitate the pressure? Not really, because GME's weight in those ETFs is minimal. If it doesn't squeeze by the end of Feb, do you think a significant portion of retail will bail? Not necessarily. Wife just yelled at me for watching the stream on vacation. She hodls too, though. Go do vacation things, Girk's Hot Pocket. No, it's not the chair I waited for months to arrive. It's just the chair I've always had. No, the futures contracts are used to hedge net short positions by providing a long position of deliverables, giving the impression of a net zero position or a neutral position. Or just higher leverage. And exit DD, there's a FOMO stage. With the price being this high now compared to last year, is refill FOMO only possible through options? I mean, most of retail FOMO was through options last year as well. Are there any signs or indicators that more ETFs will go onto the reg show list, or do we only find out when they appear there? We only find out when they appear there, Glider. I guess there's probably some correlation with the SI numbers reported on them. All good, Blueberry. Thoughts on the fact that XRT was on reg share from 129 to 122 and GME ran 2 days later? Awesome. 122 to 129? What? 1229? Something's wrong there. 222. It's interesting. I mean, XRT was definitely used significantly to bring the price down on GameStop. Will do, Darth Dan. You think they're already playing out the short squeeze now? They're going to replay what happened with Tesla, a slow, long upgrowth over time as they get out of it slowly. I think as soon as GameStop starts making announcements, there's a potential for that, but I still think that the short interest on GameStop is far too high to squeeze it slowly. If they initially start squeezing it slowly and the price continues up, I don't think they will have exited enough of their short position in time to prevent an actual squeeze. XRT to 100, I think it could go higher than that. How big of a deal is it that XRT is on reg show? Not yet, nothing yet. But once it starts getting thresholded, like once that T+13 period kicks in, I think that's a pretty big deal. I think they facilitate quite a lot of borderline illegal action through XRT. Do Long Johnsons get a special Discord rank, or is it only for higher tiers? You guys can link your YouTube accounts so I can tag you on the Discord. Is it possible to go over how many different types of FTDs that occur for GME, how they are created, and how they are satisfied, e.g., net settlement, buy real shares, etc.? All FTDs can be net settled. ETF, GameStop FTDs are created for so many different reasons. Like you have them created essentially anytime a hedge needs to be facilitated or the price needs to be dropped. If they can be net settled, which is difficult given that we trade barely any volume, then they will be. Anything in excess of that has to be purchased. What is the date for T plus 13? January 6th. January 6th is the first day that XRT can no longer be shorted. Is high turnover in an underlying good or bad? If you're trading it, good. Are my questions too dumb to be acknowledged, or are they just not showing up? Oh, is SI reported in ETF similar to creation, and that short percent could be weighted differently than the weight in the ETF? Yes. Usually the ETF is shorted to make creation cheaper. Because it creates arbitrage between the value of the underlying and the ETF, or the arbitrage in the net asset value. Pretty sure you got Houston to try a hot packet. That's hysterical. What's the best crypto day trading strat? Sorry, I'm off topic. Just trying to pay bills. I don't know. I just play like Bitcoin breakouts when I used to do it. It was profitable, but it's risky. You just play consolidation breakouts on Bitcoin. If you don't have a lot of practice at it, though, it's a better way to lose money than make it. You can play like moving average bounces, can be pretty profitable. How much growth do you think Lucid could see? Not a ton. We picking up DFE this week or what? This week could still be kind of flat. At least the next few days. Where's my price action from last year? Did I delete it? So Yeah, so I mean, last year we didn't start moving till a couple days before the ETF due date. I think. Actually, no, this was aligned right. I had this wrong. Yeah, that's right. So Monday might see some action. Maybe not a lot, but we should be pretty flat. The only difference being that this will move here. ETF FTDs are far higher than GameStop FTDs currently. But we may see a little bit of pre-covering. Realistically, any reason to believe ETF managers will issue a recall to short hedge funds that have used the ETFs for creation? It's possible. Especially if they're trying to avoid being put on the reg show threshold list. I could see Vanguard or BlackRock having more interest in doing that than maybe State Street. Maybe they were forced to buy it on 223. Yeah, so they would have had to have started shorting 5 days before 129. We could look. Whoa. The fuck is going on here? Oh, is that just frozen? That's fun. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. GME. Let's see. So if we go from 124, wait. Oh, hold on. So it was reg showed on the 29th. So we need 5 days before that. And then 6, 3. So reg show or XRT FTDs created on the day it was added, played out on 310. And it started getting reg showed or thresholded on the 19th. There's so many fucking little boxes. The 19th through. So wait, that would have been. You said it was added on the 29th? Wait, hold on. Maybe that's wrong. So it would have started getting thresholded on the 18th of February. Yeah, Carl posted one in the Pigeon Whale chat. Username face. If ETF managers do a recall from the shorts, what does that do to the GME price? They'll have to buy whatever shares of GameStop are due to the ETF. They can continue to use those ETFs to suppress the price per day, right? If the volume exceeds what can be created in ETFs, don't forget that, you know, there's people hedging long calls and stuff with ETF creation. There's ETF creation is being used heavily, right? And so there is a cap per day. And once they can't use ETFs anymore that day, the upper limits for price action extend far further out. Yeah, XRT added on the 17th. January 6th is the first date that it begins to be thresholded. So they burned XRT far earlier this year. But that's because they did their shorting in advance in order to prevent January from happening at all. We'll see if it works. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? Look at IRT tested previously high bullishly past the end of day that was dragged down a bit by the SPY. I think it's a bullish pick for pores. Golden cross on the MACD. IRT? Is this a REIT? This can come with like tax liability issues and stuff. It does look like it's ready for a breakout though. What resource do you recommend to research which ETFs a stock may be in? There's a website that does that. ETF something. Hold on. Let's see if I can find it. ETF.com. I think you can look by stock and it'll, or ETFDB will tell you which ETFs a stock is in. You can also use like unusual whales. How bullish are you on us getting over 250 this cycle? I expect us to. Looking to buy deep in the money options, 100C for the sole purpose of exercising. Do you think we'll be flat till Thursday? Thursday. Maybe. So I'm gonna do the rest of my options buying Wednesday because I'm concerned that the thresholding of XRT could see price improvement in GameStop on the 6th. I don't think it'll be significant right away. So, I mean, hopefully by Thursday we'll be trading at or near the price that we're at now. But don't forget, they can start covering this shit early. So anytime you're not in an options position is essentially time that you're left unshielded or uninvested in a price move on GameStop, which I'm aware of. But I still think that the waiting outweighs the risk. Am I bullish on AMD? A little bit. I kind of just want it to bounce, so my options print. Are you more bullish on QQQ or SPY for the short term, like this week? The SPY. I expect we could see the SPY rally a little bit into the new year. See you tomorrow, Lawrence of Arabia. All right. I guess that's everything. No more questions. Thoughts on Zim? I feel like I've heard of this before. Some integrated shipping services. Not really a fast growth sector. It looks good, but not enough stock history. I would say would be my first assessment of it. IPO'd kind of low. Growth is stable. I don't love the volume for like a breakout. Maybe just another test of 60. Possible rejection. You're like right at the rejection point, which I'm not overly fond of. I guess if you can confirm a breakout, then it's maybe not a bad play. But I don't know what the hell this company's like actually worth. P&E is like okay. Outstanding. It's like a chunky float. You too, Matthew. No, I never got a cat. Not yet. Thoughts on Matterport? I don't like it. It's just like super manipulated and pump and dumpy. It's starting to see some growth, I guess. Current price isn't terrible. I don't know if it's going to bounce or not, though. It looks like it might. Yeah, it might bounce off that like EMA 120. I would want to confirm it though. I'd want to see it like cross 21.50 before I moved into any kind of position on it. Not historically a fast growth sector, Stefan. I don't like MMAT. I know Houston's super bullish on it or whatever, but I think it's just scammy. Unpredictable and too much manipulation versus interest in it. Like it's not a, if you want to fight shorts off a stock, I don't think that's the place to do it. All right, I'll look at these two before I go. WAT. It looks like it's losing some of its momentum. You're gonna have to see if this breaks up or down. It might be okay, but I feel like it might also consolidate a little bit after this run. Yeah, it's got some range on it, but yeah, I think it's doing a little bit of consolidation here. You'll have to see how that plays out over the next few days. Also, volume's insanely low. Long-term investment, maybe. Cheap, if it is. It's like a pretty decent price. At least in a 6-month time frame currently. And then, what was the other one? I know I just saw it. ISWH. Ugh. Why? High frequency traded penny stock. Not listed on American exchanges, so I can't. Is this like Canada or something? At least I don't have any information on it as far as float and stuff goes. It doesn't look good from a technical standpoint. Like it looks like it's going to continue down. No, not Moras tomorrow. Happy New Year's, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And I will try to actually have the Pickles picks up by tonight, or the majority of them up by tonight. Have a good evening. Thank you, Ecstasy. 2022, let's go. I know everyone's, I guess I want to say this before I go. I know everyone is feeling it in regards to the January expected price action. It's tough. This is the hardest part. We've only got a couple weeks to go before the expected price action starts to come in. Look for opportunities to average down if you can. If you can't, just hold. Don't let the fear get to you. That's what they want. I guess that's it. I know this part isn't easy. Waiting and nothing expected to happen for several days. So I'll be here. Don't worry. Just know that I am also holding with you guys. I hope that helps. I know you guys have. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Violent upside potential. Later, guys.